Okay. All right. So if you're here, super excited to have you. I do also know that one person is going to be joining like midway. But if you don't mind, I'm going to have you throw in the chat box. Let me know. Can you, if you guys don't mind, let me know where you are watching from. So if you either want to just throw like what state you're in, or if you want to throw in a city or whatever you feel comfortable with, let me know where you are checking in from. And also, so we're going into fall here in Minnesota. So I just want you to also share what's something that you love about this upcoming season of fall. So if you don't mind just sharing those two things in the chat, that way I can also check to make sure that the chat box is working for everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Rochester. Okay, we also have Terry's AI assistant on the call. Oh. So just drop in where you are coming in from, as well as if you have something that you love about this upcoming season. I love fall. So I love everything, but I love football. I love the cooler weather. Costa Rica, awesome. Sophia, you are in very warm weather, probably warmer than where we're at. Love it. Yeah. Cozy evenings, pretty leaves. Yeah, that's like one of the best things about going into fall in Minnesota. We know that the cold's coming, but just like the beauty, the pretty leaves, the colors, all of that, it's amazing. I'm also curious, anybody here, like, I don't know, like we talk holidays. Is anybody here, is your favorite holiday Halloween? Like, does anybody love Halloween? It's not my favorite holiday, but I'm learning to like Halloween. Who here, anybody a fan of Halloween? Oh, originally from Rochester. Awesome, Sophia. Okay. Rochester, Minnesota, I'm guessing, not Rochester, New York, but that's awesome if you have that connection to Rochester. Okay. Ugh, love pumpkin patches, apple orchards. Yes, I'm hoping to get to an apple orchard this year. Okay, thank you guys for just like dropping in the chat. All right, we're gonna begin. We've got a packed day. As I mentioned, if whether you have watched the Ascend replay for day one, or not, I will say that the Akashic records are already open for just like this group session. Using that to also just, kind of guide our way through day two. But just so you know, you're in the right place if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur in a soul-led business. You have a dream in your heart, a vision that you're being called to bring forward into the world, and you are ready to do business differently, free of the 24/7 hustle and burnout. I like to define what is a soul-led business owner. Like this term is being used more often. I often call it a soulpreneur, spiritual entrepreneur, or maybe you're just spiritually curious, whatever that is. But here's my definition of what that means to embody entrepreneurship differently. It's an entrepreneur who's combining the divine feminine and their spiritual gifts or their intuition with the divine masculine so that you can take inspired action and build a soul-led business to support people and ultimately help raise the vibration on the planet. So that's a pretty big mission. And if you're in Ascend, I'm so excited to support you through this journey. And what I want you to remember is when a group of women, when a group of female entrepreneurs, when a group of spiritually curious individuals get together, we can all rise. And I'm really excited for you to be here on September 9th, which is also known as the 9/9 portal. The number 9 in numerology, I will say I am not a numerology expert, but I follow a lot of really good numerology accounts. And I recently read, I believe her name's like Kara Hart, her You Are a Cosmic Code numerology book. And what we know about the number 9, it is associated with kind of like the death before a rebirth or a renew happens. 9 is oftentimes associated with kind of the end or the closing of a chapter. It can be associated with the letting go and the release of old versions of yourself, old aspects of yourself that are no longer serving you. 9/9 can signify closing old doors, which might be old relationships, old behavior patterns, old belief systems, whatever that is, closing the door on the things that are no longer serving you and stepping into the new. Because the thing about nine, or at least in numerology, how it goes is it's 1 through 9, and then we restart at 1. So 1 comes next after the 9, which is kind of the rebirth and the renew. And so it's also another reminder that in the dark, when we are going through maybe a dark night of the soul, or we're going through a bit of a death or a closing of doors in certain areas of our life, the 9 can also remind us that new light, new day is always coming right around the corner. So the fact that today we're talking about what blocks, obstacles, and hurdles might be coming up for you in regards to tapping into your own intuition, this is all very divinely guided and led. And so I'm super excited to have this conversation today. I will do a brief, quick intro. I spent a little more time on this in day 1. So if you're new to me, or if you've known me for a bit, my name's Maria. I'm a quantum past life healer, subconscious reprogrammer using a technique called theta healing. I also channel and do healings in the Akashic records, and I'm the host of the Awaken Your Higher Self podcast. I also just have included some other fun things about me, because I think the biggest thing when we are on this human/spiritual journey is that we are all of it. We are all the things, and I used to be, and probably still am, a personal development junkie. I used to take all the tests. Like earlier, it was taking the Myers-Briggs personality test. Then I started learning about the Enneagram, then astrology came, all of these things just to find out more about myself, which is great. And also, we still have to remember we're still a human. We're still having a human experience. So I still enjoy human things. I love to read. I love to watch movies. I love pizza and spaghetti. And I'm also a former healthcare worker. So just remembering that we are all of these aspects of self, especially as we kind of go into this deeper spiritual journey. So what we are going to talk about today, a little bit of a recap of what is intuition, on why this is a key element that we want to be infusing, not only just into our business. I mean, we talk business on this call and how we can infuse this into your entrepreneurial journey, but really intuition is something that we really want at the center, like a foundation of, for our whole life. Because at the end of the day, intuition is just changing gears on who is driving your ship, who is in the driver's seat of you. And for many of us, we get stuck in like our human survival patterns, which makes sense, especially for many of us, given like past experiences. We can be driven as a human species by survival, which again, at a level of, we don't want to become an extinct species, it makes sense. However, we do not want fear to be the driver of our life, especially if we are living a soul-led, freedom-based life of joy and fun. We can't be having fear in the driver's seat. So again, why intuition is such a big deal. But more importantly, we're going to talk about what are the blocks, like what caps are we actually putting on ourselves that are limiting our connection to our innate inner wisdom, and talking about how tuning into our own intuition is going to be the fastest way to ultimately 10x your life and your business. And then I am going to deliver a healing. So I'm really excited. Something's coming through today. I don't even know what's coming through. So there are certain elements when I'm planning something in the Akashic records, I obviously have an outline. I tune into what some of the elements are, obviously, to create this PowerPoint. But when it comes to pulling in a healing and the message, I do not know what's coming in. So I am just as excited as you all who are on this call to experience that together. So thank you for being here. And I want to take a moment. So our intention, where we're placing our presence and what we're setting our intention, and what intention we're setting, is important. So it can be very easy to live our life kind of like flying by the seat of our pants, reacting to things, kind of being led by the busy, 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 go, go, go of our schedule. That kind of has become the norm. And many of us are starting to realize that's not the norm. That's not the day to day that we want to keep living into. And so I want you to be really intentional. So if you are taking the time to be here live right now, I'm grateful for you. I'm so grateful to have you here. And or even if you're watching the replay and you're taking the time to do that, I want you to set an intention. Like, why are you here? And today, again, we're going to be talking about the blocks or the hurdles that might be showing up in our lives. To be honest, this could be related to, again, because we're going to talk literally like, what are the blocks to your intuition? Like, why are we not being able to tap into that? So as I wrote this slide, it can be related to that. But I do want you to take a moment, take a pen and paper, or if you're not a writing person, I don't know, type it in somewhere or even just think about it. But I want you to take a moment and look into your own life, your own business, any aspect of you, and ask what feels like a block. What has been getting in the way of you building your dream business? What's been getting in the way of you living out just in freedom, love, and joy in your day-to-day life? What has felt like a hurdle or a challenge? And for a moment, I just want you to become present to it, because again, all of this is we're learning how to observe it, how to observe the block, how to observe the hurdle or the challenge, and just be with it. Okay, so we're not going to fix anything right in this moment, but I do want you to look at it, observe, and be with it. So I'm going to give you guys a moment to just write down what is a block, a hurdle, a challenge, or something that's been coming up for you. Okay, you may still be writing on that, but I'm going to kind of also then move into this topic again of intuition. And as we go into this little bit of a recap, in day one, we kind of tuned in with ourselves and we did a self reflection or a self intuition check in of, how well currently are you connecting in with your intuition, right? So we were kind of writing down, for example, one, how frequently are we doing an intuitive check in? Are we doing an intuitive check in with ourselves daily? Like sitting in with ourselves and tuning into inner wisdom, or again, this could be happen even in meditation, that maybe you get intuitive messages. So we just checked in with how often are we really doing this, right? Is it happening daily? Is it happening weekly, monthly, or sporadically? That was one element we looked at. We also looked at how strong do you feel like your current intuitive connection is? Do you feel like you get trickles? It's like kind of, I get a little bit, or are you getting a lot? How much do you trust your intuition, right? So it's one thing to get intuitive messages, intuitive nudges, whatever you want to call it. But then how likely are you to trust that information as truth? Like, and I mean to the level that we want to get to with trusting our intuition is similar to just how, like, if I say, tell me what 2 + 2 is, and then, you answer 4, it's 4. It is 4. That's the answer. And it's a knowing, and nobody's going to argue that 2 + 2 is not 4. Okay, that's the level of trust and truth that we want to get to with our intuition. That if you receive intuitive nudges, and I want to remind you, intuition can come about in so many different ways. Like maybe you're about to do something and you get this intuitive nudge, like, oh, no, I'm not supposed to book this trip yet. Or no, I got invited to this party, but it's like, it's a hard no for me. My higher self's like, no, don't go. Or go. Maybe it's saying, no, you should, for whatever reason, I should go do this today. Okay, so intuition can come in different ways. So you're also asking yourself, how much do I trust my intuition? And then how likely am I to act on it? So that's the conversation around intuition. Because honestly, like, newsflash to all of us, we are a spark of the divine. Whatever you believe is that divine, higher source, higher self, powerful connection. Again, it doesn't have to live within one religious affiliation, one thing. It's really whatever you want to call that term. I tend to call it divine, or I tend to call it source, but that's kind of at, the highest, just meaning it's the highest level of truth. It's, where everything comes from and where we're from. Then there's also this higher self connection. Higher self is our higher self. It's like when we're tuning into our highest spiritual essence, our highest knowing, or our intuition. And to be honest, at this level, I go deeper on this in the container of higher self awakening when we're in the program, but higher self intuition, it can actually be like you're either answering the call of your higher self. You might also be tuning into spirit guides, past loved ones information, angels. That's kind of that whole realm. And then finally we have our ego, which is part of our mind. And it's, again, it's that survival aspect. It's really the aspect that is meant to keep us alive. So at the end of the day, we are all of this. All of this, is happening in any given moment, and being able to check in, tune in to our intuition is extremely important. So wherein lies the block? So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. I'm going to move this down. So I thought that I could learn about intuition just like I learned any other subject in my life that I had figured out how to quote unquote master, right? So I thought I could learn intuition just like how I learned math, science, social studies. Like I was, maybe not a surprise, high achiever, type A person. I was a straight A student. I wanted to get a 4.0. Actually, like in high school, there was like a weighted system. If you took AP classes, you could even get like above a 4.0. I prided myself on studying, memorizing, regurgitating information. Like that was learning to me, right? So I thought I could use that same approach to intuition. So I got the book, I took a course, and I practiced. And again, this was all around after I had left my former healthcare career in I should say I left my job at Mayo in 2016 just because I knew long term it's not what I wanted to be doing. Left my healthcare career in 2021. But in between there, I was kind of on this personal development journey. And I had landed upon this woman who's excellent. She's actually also in Minnesota. She's a former occupational therapist, now an intuition coach and teacher, Emmy Vadnais. And she has this excellent book. It's called Intuitive Development. I do recommend it to anybody who's interested in learning more about intuition, right? If you want to learn more, it's a great tool. And the course that I took and sessions that I did were with her. And so I did all of that and I was like, this is cool. And she walked me through intuitive practices. And I'm like, okay, cool. I got it. Like I've learned it now. This should be easy. But it wasn't. It was not easy. It was not easy at all. So what I found was when I was a former type A, go, had to stay busy, had to keep doing, working, performing type person. Actually using my intuition in day to day seemed not practical for me. And so here's how I was looking at like when I would attend a yoga class, or when I would maybe once a couple times a month sit down and actually do meditation. That's when, okay, so when I've kind of forced myself to get quiet, I could then receive some intuition. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. So I get it. I can get some intuition information. Or if I would go to a group class or some type of experience, I could receive some intuitive information. But overall, it felt really elusive. And I just kind of figured, like, okay, I think this is just where some people are just born with it. Some people must just be naturally intuitive. They've just got it figured out. And I assumed, right, it tended to be like the people who were at yoga class every day, like the yogis. I don't know. I had a certain stereotype of just what that looked like, people who were naturally intuitive. And I assumed then that the rest of us were just too hardwired for 24/7 hustle, overthinking, worry, and logic. So it's like, okay, yeah, this intuition thing's over here. And I learned all about it. And I thought the reason why I couldn't access it, though, not really, not fully in my day-to-day life, was just because, like, again, I'm just not a natural. I wasn't born with it. Okay. And that I was hardwired differently. Here is where, honestly, what do they call that? The the rubber hit the road. I don't know if that's a phrase. Here's when I realized that I could change. And the biggest catalyst for that was when I became a mom. So my son was born in 2018. And while raising a newborn is difficult just because it's a newborn and you don't know what the heck you're doing really, and they have a lot of needs and they can't communicate with you. So I mean, we got through a lot of that newborn stuff in 2018 and 2019, figuring out the life of a baby. And then, when they become 2 and 3, they can talk. And which is great. Like, I love being able to actually like start talking to my son and figuring out what his needs were. But also in that age, if you've had a 2 and 3 year old, or if you have nieces and nephews or friends with kids at 2 and 3, also that's when large emotional meltdowns can happen for kids. And they obviously don't have the tools yet to regulate on their own, right? That makes sense. But as an adult who is a type A go, go, go person, who's also, so around 2021 is when I started my business. There was just a lot happening in my life, and I was still trying to be a mom, figuring out that. And it was in those moments when I realized, one, I didn't have it all together. It's like I had spent 3, 4 years kind of figuring out tools to just manage my own anxiety. I did not even quite feel equipped that when my son was having an emotional meltdown, I was like, oh my, this is like using my tools on steroids, because I have to regulate while someone else is very dysregulated with me, and I have to do it quick. And I didn't always get it right. Okay. And I found that this was where I was like, I I just keep operating how I think I am hardwired? So if I go with how I thought I was hardwired, I am hardwired to go, 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 stay busy, work more, ignore what's going on and happening inside of me and just like keep hustling. But when you're a mom and also trying to build a business, that meant like what felt like never resting, never having a moment to myself. It just felt too much and too busy. And so becoming a mom, and especially as he got older and had more of his own emotional needs, while also being a business owner, was probably my biggest invitation that I needed to do deeper work. That, and again, so I say these things not that like there's anything wrong with them, but just going to therapy wasn't enough for me. Like, just talking about my emotions wasn't enough. Even just using my anxiety management tools wasn't enough, because in the day to day of being a mom and being a business owner, and again, this is around 2021, 2022, I just realized that like my own emotions, my own self felt all over the place. And sure, I could have kept trying to patch it up with tools and just talking it out, but I'm like, God dang it. I feel like I'm going to actually have to dig deeper, and I'm going to have to face all this yuck. And I'm going to have to face the shit that I've had buried deep inside for a really long time that I thought I could just out busy and run away from. And again, the running away never actually worked. And I finally realized like maybe there is something to I can actually rewire and also heal some of the things that were triggering for me, especially as a mom and as a business owner. Okay. So it was through that journey that I started realizing there's something more to this. And even then, so at that point, I started doing like energy work to try to start shifting more energy through my body's energy center. So I was doing some Reiki. I was working with a woman who was also a practicing shaman. And again, it was in that we started doing some deeper soul level spiritual work. And I'm not going to lie, my own ego and logic was still kind of like, God, is any of this real, or is this all absolute baloney? right? And also, though, I was noticing a ton of shifts in me. I was noticing shifts in how I was showing up as a mom and as a business owner. I was finding that as I was adding in some of these spiritual practices and energy work stuff, I did have a better emotional capacity during the day. But then in 2023, so really just last summer, June of 2023, is when I started networking with a hypnotherapist locally here in Rochester. I started then learning more about the subconscious mind. And I started to really see and observe what was actually blocking my own intuition and what I've seen for women that I work with one on one or in a group. So here's what the common intuition blocks tend to be. If you feel like it's just not working for you to use it in everyday life, if you're not trusting it, if you feel like you're not getting a lot of intuitive information, or you're struggling with just even acting on it. So it can either be related to your own subconscious beliefs around hustle, work, and performing. Many women I tend to work with and attract tend to also be former like me, like high achievers, hustle, go, go, go. So the thing is, if we're currently hardwired and have a lot of that hustle, gotta work, must work hard, gotta use my logic and reason, if we have a lot of that in our subconscious mind, that is going to block our ability to receive intuitive information because yourself is not going to really put importance on intuition because you are so heavily hardwired for hustle, working hard, performing well, and leaning into logic. Okay, so it could be that belief system that's part of the blockage. Then on the other side, it could also be you have certain subconscious beliefs that are blocking you from just accessing your intuition, maybe because of what you think intuition is. So, however, maybe intuition was talked about or not talked about growing up, either by adults that you lived with, maybe by teachers and things like that. Like, to be honest, right now, we don't really assign a lot of importance or priority to intuition for young minds. I do think this is somewhat changing. But I just think back to even when I was growing up in school, if I had like an inner feeling like, oh, I just feel like I shouldn't or shouldn't do something, let's just say. And I can remember not really any one specific person, but someone just being like, well, do you have any reason to believe that? Like, what's your proof behind that? Show me your work, right? We get a lot of this, show me your work. What are you talking about? How did you come to this decision? Which when someone asks us that, then we tend to think, oh, okay, if I got to show my work, I better like make a case for this. I have to make this make sense. And that's not what intuition is. It just is. It's a knowing. So you may have beliefs that to literally not trust your own intuition because we were kind of raised that that's just not, it's not as solid, which we know it is. Also, again, working with myself and tons of women, it can also be past life trauma. So if you subscribe to the belief, or if you're remaining open and curious to considering that this is not your first incarnation on earth, and quite frankly, I could have a whole conversation on that, but for the purpose of this today, I'm just going to say, if you're curious and open to that belief, many of us in a past life have been persecuted, harmed. I didn't want to put it on this slide, but or murdered or killed for using our intuition or psychic abilities in a past life. So it was not safe to use in a past timeline. And so again, when you come into the body in this life, you're carrying that past life trauma. And so you are not going to use your intuition or trust it or feel safe using it if you have some of this deep trauma. It also could be ancestral trauma. So let's just say ancestrally, who knows, way back when, if you had a family or a family member who was a healer, or also using their own psychic or intuitive abilities, and they were harmed or persecuted for that, again, that's going to be passed down in the DNA. Like we know that from genetics and the science now, that like so much is passed down ancestrally in our DNA. And then it could also just be even in this life, right? Like as I mentioned, you might just have some things you could have had a negative experience as a child or at a young age where you used your intuition, like you leaned into something, you trusted it, and then maybe a negative experience followed. So you're coupling the two together, right? That like when I use my intuition, something bad happens, and then that becomes a belief. So notice though how everything I said here was it's all about you, which the good news is about that is that it can also be reprogrammed, it can also be rewired, and it can also be healed. So anybody can reopen their channel and their connection to their intuition. Because again, using your spiritual gifts and your intuition is going to be the fastest way to 10x your business income and impact and avoid burnout. And it's also just going to help you up level in your life in general. So I'm going to pause for a moment before I go into the healing session because I just delivered a lot of information. I'm just trying to get back to the chat box here. I'm going to move this up. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause. If you are on, do you mind sharing either so far, do you have any questions about anything we covered about what intuitive blocks could be showing up for you, blocks or challenges that are coming up? So first, just any questions, or will you just type a yes in the chat box? Are you with me? And are you ready to kind of go into, we are going to have do kind of a healing portion here, but just throw it in the chat. Either yes, you're good to go and you're ready, or if any questions did come up, please drop that as well. Okay, you guys are good. I am also going to ask, before I go into it, is that for you guys growing up, would you say, well, yeah, how do I want to ask this? Can you throw in the chat box? Do you tend to be a more logic like approach things? You tend to want to approach things from a logic, like why, what is this type way? Or again, you also might be someone who tends to be more like intuitive. No, I've always just trusted my inner knowing, however you want to identify it. Can you throw in the chat box, what have you tended to be? More logic based or more intuition based? And then when you talk about dying in past lives, I feel like yeah, Anna, that is so true. And like I said, I'm not going to like dive into it too much here. We will go deeper into past lives in the higher self awakening container. But yeah, it is wild how many women, I say women just because that's why I support men too, though. You either remember certain pieces, or when I say it, you start to remember that feeling, like it's held in the body somewhere, that you likely died in a past life, like related to using your psychic and intuitive abilities. So yeah, I'm so excited too. Okay, so Sophia, yeah, kind of like right in the middle. You feel like you're in the middle between logic and intuition, which is beautiful. Like to be in that middle, that's honestly where we want to get to. Just both logic based, but have young intuitive memories. Yeah, yeah, you guys, like many of us will remember as a young child, or in our younger years being really more intuitive. But I just think the current school system and just how our world operates right now, it's very, I don't know, it like rewards the logic and the rationalism and the reasoning, which I get because as Sophia mentioned, or as Sophia has put in the middle, and as I was talking, we really want to find our way to this beautiful middle where we can fully tune in and channel our higher selves and our intuition, and also look at and observe things through like a logical lens, where it's not like we're abandoning logic altogether. However, I do always highly recommend getting our intuitive higher self in the driver's seat, because it is just, for so many reasons, it at the end of the day, let's see, I'm not going to go all the way back to that slide. What I want you to think about is that higher self is seeing things from a God-like perspective, because higher self has a connection to source or the divine. And they're seeing things like they can observe all the different possibilities and give you the best possible route to build your business or to show up and handle this parenting moment in this way or to show up in this friendship in a certain way. Like at the end of the day, our higher self has this more all-knowing perspective and can deliver us the best information. But at the end of the day, here's the thing, we are humans with free will. We always get to make the choice to either act on our intuition or not. And it's really not about being right or wrong, but I find once people begin listening more to their inner wisdom and their intuition and kind of following that path, things just get easier. Okay, so we are going to go into a healing. So for this, what I would like you to do, and this is really kind of how we're going to end day 2. And actually, because I'm going to plan to leave you guys in like right after this ends, and it likely is going to take us right up towards the end. I really just want to kind of leave you with, here's some tips for integration and journaling on it, and then go. Like, I don't want to have to do a lot of talking at the end. So I am going to actually quickly just share that tomorrow is day 3 of Ascend. So we have our 3rd day happening tomorrow, Tuesday, September 10th, 12 to 1 Central Time, as well as tomorrow doors open officially to Higher Self Awakening. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about how to stop second guessing yourself and show up in your full light. And I'm going to kind of put it all together, how to combine intuitive flow with the logic and masculine energy, and kind of share and reveal the framework that I work off of in Higher Self Awakening. So that is happening tomorrow. Okay, so what I would like you to do is I want you to get comfortable wherever you are. If you need to take a sip of water, if you need to quick stand up and stretch, I will say if you even need to quick go to the bathroom, do that quick. Because like I'm going to get you into a meditative state so that you can receive the healing. So the healings that I deliver are, one, they're in the Akashic records. So what that means is energetically, I have not only my Akashic records open right now, but I also have the group session records open for any individual who is either on this live call or energetically and virtually, because again, like energetics, it's just everything's happening now anyways, even if you're watching the replay now. So the records are also open for anybody watching the replay. Second, and so that's just how I'm going to channel in and tune into whatever the message and the healing is. Second, I do use theta healing. So if that comes through, if it's called, it's just a way to also start working with the subconscious mind. And the thing about subconscious mind work, I won't go deeply into it in this second. And yet at the same time, I will say, and I have a whole webinar on it if anybody wants that, but you know, it's not mind control. I do think, unfortunately, hypnotists, hypnotherapy, that word has gotten a negative flavor and tone here in the United States and maybe in other places. But at the end of the day, you are in full control always. And it's actually just helping the individual get into a meditative state, because that's when our brain is in the theta brainwave state. We naturally go into this state right before we fall asleep and right when we wake up. And it's the easiest way to begin to start talking to our subconscious mind. And it's just how we shift beliefs to work for us and let go of any outdated beliefs that are not serving us any further. So again, that may or may not come through for today's healing. I want you to find a comfortable spot. I want you to uncross anything that's crossed unless you're sitting crisscross applesauce. If you're sitting crisscross applesauce, that's fine, but like uncross your arms, your ankles, or whatever. If you feel safe and comfortable, I want you to close your eyes and begin to slow your breathing down to a relaxed, comfortable pace. If you'd like, you can inhale through nose and exhale through mouth. And I want you to begin to allow relaxation to flow down your body. You might begin to notice as you settle into your chair, you may notice tension in the body. And if you notice tension, I want you to observe it and let it go. So if you're holding anything tightly in your face, your forehead, your cheeks, I want you to set the intention of relaxing all your face muscles. Next, I want you to work your way down to your neck. And if it calls, I want you to do some gentle neck stretches, either side to side, up and down, or if you want to do small half circles. But I want you to imagine that relaxation is flowing down through your neck, relaxing any tension in your shoulders, your upper back, or your chest. With each breath, relaxation is coming down through the body, through your abdomen, relaxing all your tummy muscles, relaxing your legs, your calves, your ankles, and your feet. Now, with your eyes closed and you're breathing at a slow, comfortable pace, in your mind's eye, in your imagination, I want you to begin to notice that there are roots. Okay, so you are like a tree and there are roots coming down from your feet, and they're going to be connecting you into the earth. Okay, so this is just a grounding practice to help each of you, wherever you are, to begin grounding into this moment, time, and space. So if you can, in your mind's eye, just imagine that you are rooting down, sending your roots deeper and deeper into the earth. And the earth, Mother Earth, is a living, breathing energy. And you'll notice that she's going to be sending and infusing that motherly earth energy up through your roots. So it's like this beautiful energetic exchange as she nourishes the tree that you are. And once you feel firmly rooted and grounded in, then I want you to pull up that motherly earth energy up through your feet. We're going to pull it up through all of your chakras. So if you'd like, in your mind's eye, you can imagine that it's going to go up from through your root chakra, your sacral, your solar plexus near your abdomen. It's going to rebalance your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your third eye, which is at your forehead, and up and out through the crown, which is like near the top of your head. And I want you to take at least 2 cleansing breaths with me, inhaling this Mother Earth energy. So inhale through nose, exhale through mouth. Again, inhale through nose, exhale through mouth. And just notice that you are one with the earth energy. Next, with your eyes closed, I want you to imagine that you are going to drop down into your heart space. Now, your heart space is like the seat of your soul. It's where your soul resides. And so if you're asking, okay, where's my heart space? If you do need to open your eyes for this, you can look. I'll try to show it on the thing here, but actually I am going to stop share for a moment. Okay, confirm you guys can still see me. Okay, so if this is your heart chakra and then your solar plexus is here, your heart space is near the tip of your sternum. Okay, so if you remember science class, your sternum's running along here, and then you have the tip of your sternum right between your heart chakra and your solar plexus. So again, if you had to kind of see that visual, but now closing your eyes again, in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine that you are dropping down into your heart space. And you're going to take a few breaths concentrating on this area. I want you to imagine that with each breath, you are sending love and compassion to your heart space area. And know that there is no right or wrong here. You're just feeling into and breathing into your heart space, and however you're doing it is just beautiful. And if you notice that your mind wanders, it's fine. I just want you to walk it back to your heart space on the next breath. Now, depending on each of your own current abilities, I'm going to say a few things just to help ease your mind and your ego as we're in your heart space. So one, I want you to remember that you are in full control of you. If at any time you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, you can open your eyes and just focus on your breathing. Okay, so you are always in the driver's seat. Number two, if you feel comfortable, I want you to notice and look around. Again, we're still in your mind's eye. You're still in your imagination, however you're producing it. You might see it, sense it, know it. But I want you to notice that your heart space is actually like this sacred room. It's like this sacred space that is just yours, just for you. So if you can, look around. What does your sacred space look like? Again, this might come to you because you see it in your mind's eye. Maybe you hear some things around you, you know it, you feel it. You could be getting this information in different ways. But you might notice, hey, I'm outside with the birds. Maybe you notice, no, I'm in this like cozy looking room. Or, oh, I'm in this space where there's just water and I feel really comfortable here. Whatever. I just want you to tune into what your space feels like, looks like, what you're noticing. And I want you to remember this is your sacred space. And lastly, before we enter the healing portion, I ask that within yourself, you invite your inner child to join you. So if when I say that, you instantly can picture a younger version of yourself. They could be of any age. It could be you at 3, 5, 7, 15. But I want you to invite your inner child into this space with you. So you might be seeing it, hearing it, sensing it, knowing it, that in your sacred heart space, you might be seeing like a current version of you in there sitting next to your inner child. Okay, so just invite them in if they would like to be a part of today's healing. Okay, and if they say yes, like you're inviting them, and if they say yes, then we're going to proceed. Okay, now what I want you to notice and attune to in your heart space, in your sacred space, if you look to the back, there's a door. And through this door, we're going to be going through to enter a space that needs some healing as you begin to remember who you are, as you begin to remember all the parts of yourself. So when you feel ready, I want you to notice the door at the back of your heart space. And the door has a beautiful code or a lock, or it requires a key that only you have. So you're either going to reach into your pocket and grab the key, or your own heart's energy will have kind of like the code to open this door. So however you need to open this door, through the energy of your heart, through a key that you notice you have in your pocket in your mind's eye, but I'm going to have you unlock and open the door and invite your inner child to walk through the door with you. I will give you each a moment to unlock and open your doors. Okay. Now, what I want you to notice, we're about to step through the door, or maybe you've already stepped through the door in your own heart space. I'm getting a couple things from the guardians of the records, and so I'm going to kind of say this in a couple ways. I want you to note that either as you walk through the door, you may already notice you are somewhere. Okay, you might already have a scene that you happened upon. So if you already notice you're somewhere, that's fine. I'm still going to kind of walk you through the next step of what's about to happen. And if you walked through the door or you haven't walked through the door yet, and you kind of just feel like you're standing in to nothingness, that is also fine. So whatever you notice is all fine. I am going to though walk you through the next step. So wherever you landed upon as you walk through the door, I want you to notice over in the corner, there's kind of like a conference table where typically a meeting happens between two or more parties. And you're going to notice that you and your inner child, if they're with you, you're going to go sit down at that table because a meeting is about to happen. And who you're meeting is an aspect of you, the higher self aspect of you, your soul essence self is going to be walking through, you might notice it walking through another door and also coming up onto the table. So in this remembering experience of who you are, you're having a sit down. It's you and possibly your inner child's next to you, and you are kind of meeting formally, shall we say, your higher self. You might see your higher self. They might look like you. They might look like a future you. You also might be noticing them just as like a bright white light, because at the end of the day, they are in the 5D. They are in the soul essence world where there is no human form. So it's however you currently feel safe to imagine them in your mind's eye, whether it's a bright white light, they might look like a future version of you or a current, but notice that they are at the table with you and they are going to present you with a book. So they've come to this meeting with you, one, because they want to strengthen their connection with you, and two, they have something to tell you. They have something to share with you, something that you are ready to hear, see, or know. So they bring this book, and I want you to notice what your book looks like. It's like the book of you. Okay. So the guardians are saying each of you right now is kind of being presented the book of you, which is your Akashic records, your energetic blueprint, your dictionary of everything about you. It's like they're placing this sacred book. If you could tangibilize it, they're placing this sacred book on the meeting table with you. And you now, in your mind's eye, you're still working in your mind's eye, in your heart space, are going to flip open to a page that you just know. You just know you're meant to open this page and hear the message, see the message. You're going to get the message somehow. So when you're ready, you and your inner child can now open this book up to whatever page you're meant to open up to. Okay. And there will be a message there from your higher self to receive. Please know that you could receive this because you're either seeing it on a page and it's like you can read it to yourself. You might be hearing it. Your higher self might be sharing it or telling it to you. You might just know. You might just have this knowing of what the message is. And I also want to share that maybe right now you don't notice per se a message and maybe an emotion or a feeling is coming up. That is a message. Anything that you're present to right now is a message. So just observe it. And I also will set the intention for anybody that doesn't feel like they are getting a quote unquote message right now. I'm going to set the intention that you will receive this message in the next 24 hours. Your team will get it to you. So it will either be in dream form, it will be through something that someone says to you that you just know that was what you needed to hear. It could come at you in the form of something you happen upon on like your social media, you know, like you open it up to write this post and it's like, whoa, it hits. You'll know because of some full body tingles or an inner knowing. So I just want to set the intention that whether you receive the message now or later, you will get the information. Okay. So I'm just giving you a moment to receive the message. It could be a word, a phrase, an image, a scene, a gift that could be in the form of like they're handing you something. Just receive it now. And of course, if you'd like, you can write down this message, whatever you're receiving now, or even again, or whatever you're present to right now. Could be emotions, feelings, whatever's coming up. And once you've jotted down the message or the note to yourself, I will have you go back and drop back into your heart space because I will deliver a color healing and then I will wrap up this call. So, in this moment, time, or space, if you feel like you've received the message, you might in some way like just say like a farewell for now, see you later to your higher self. So what I mean by this is in your mind's eye, if you're still at the conference table, you could give your higher self a hug. You could, I don't, you know, whatever feels comfortable. You could like shake their hand. They're like, whatever you want, like just in some way indicate like, you know, see you later. But then you're going to actually walk back through that door. There was a door that you walked into to get to this space, this meeting room. I need you to walk back through the door, back into your heart space, back into that sacred room. And once you're in the sacred room, close the door to where you just came from. And then I want you to find a comfortable spot in your heart space. So now you're imagining back again that you're in this sacred space. And so for you, maybe you're lying on a really comfy chair in your mind's eye. Maybe you're laying down near the water. Maybe you're sitting in some grass, like wherever you want to be. Go there now to receive this color healing. Color is a beautiful way to begin with just rebalancing chakras, with reopening channels back to our higher versions of ourselves. And so each of you are about to receive a color. So as you're sitting there and you're just staying tuned into the breath, in through nose, out through mouth, I want you to imagine that a color is going to start being poured down from the skies. Okay, it could be showing up to you as like a color beam, like someone's pouring in colorful water, but it's going to be coming down from the skies, pouring down in through your crown chakra, through the top of your head. Again, you could see it as like a light beam or as like colorful water, paint, whatever. But you are receiving a color right now. Notice what that color is. The guardians are saying it might be colors. Some of you might be receiving a mix of 2 or 3. Write those down or just remember what those are. But I want you to just see, imagine, feel, know, hear the color that you're receiving. And imagine that that color is going to come down through all of your chakras. And the colors they're saying that are chosen for you are coming in for 2 reasons. One is to help you remember who you are. So it's a beautiful color elixir that was chosen for you from your higher self and your high vibrational guide team to one, help you remember who you are and wake up dormant DNA to help you remember. And number 2, the color is also intended to help you just feel safe tuning into higher aspects of yourself. So it's kind of a 2-part colorful elixir that they're delivering right now. Remember who you are and also remember that it's safe to remember who you are. And so you'll just notice the colors coming in, flowing in down through your whole entire body. And then what I'm going to do is I just want you to imagine, I am going to kind of just close the portal of your top crown chakra, so that it's kind of back into balance and not too open. And then what I want you to do in your mind's eye is in your heart space, I want you to send compassion and love to your higher self, to your high vibe guide team who kind of came through for you today in this mini healing. Send them love and compassion. And when you're ready, you're just going to begin to open your eyes, wiggling your fingers and your toes, coming back to this moment, time, and space. If it helps, I'm going to recommend taking a sip of water. I would also recommend after this mini healing, if you can, go spend some time outside, go put your feet in the ground, go for a walk, maybe do some gentle movement. You're just coming back to this moment, time, and space. Spend some time journaling on that. I will say if anybody needs to hop off the live call right now, you can do so. I will be also stopping the recording. I'm excited for day 3. Please let me know if you have any questions about day 2. I'm going to hit stop.